Good morning, and thank you very much, Mr. Dennis Joseph. Let me say good morning to our listeners. I am indeed pleased to be here this morning. My name is Davidson Valerie, Acting Deputy Chief of Police. I am here to update you on what has been going on with the police since the passage of Hurricane Maria. And indeed, Maria, as Dennis said, is a household name. But it does not bring back fond memories. I can tell you that since the passage of Hurricane Maria, the police has been very active. The hurricane actually brought tremendous challenge to our police force. It was a hurricane that had never been experienced in such magnitude by anyone in Dominica before. We have had passages of other hurricanes, but this brought tremendous challenges to our police force and indeed to our country. The Dominica Police Force, on the morning of the 19th, was quickly moved into a phase of recovery, search and rescue, actually. It was moved into a phase of search and rescue to ensure that we could have rescued as many people as possible and to save the lives of those that we could have assisted. We had several reports of deaths in and around Roseau, and these had to be responded to in a timely way. Access to most of those locations was indeed very difficult, as all the streets were blocked. Access from police headquarters on that morning itself was a challenge. Police headquarters had been thoroughly flooded, and debris had, in fact, blocked the entrances to the station. Notwithstanding, we were equal to the task very early that morning. And even prior to the wind subsiding, officers were sent out on the streets. There were instances where the officers had to return because it was still too dangerous to be out. But at the earliest opportunity, we deployed officers on the streets of Roseau. And the officers went in various locations around the city to ensure that there was security in the city. We saw the huge numbers of persons, rather than coming together to help each other and to bring some relief and support, were engaged in rampant looting in the city. The police had made all necessary efforts. Many of those persons were arrested. But yet, areas that the police were unable to reach were taken advantage of, and businesses were taken advantage of. This brought a level of security concern, high level of security concern for the police force and indeed for Dominica. I can tell you that a number of persons have been arrested, and indeed, to date, there is a number of 105 persons who have been arrested for such offenses. And that include burglaries, theft, taking conveyance, and the various criminal offenses that have been committed. We are grateful to have received the support of the regional forces, as we are in support of RSS. We have the support of Jamaica Defense Force and Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. These numbers have augmented our numbers to help us in providing the level of security that is required in Dominica at this time. And I can tell you that even with that number, there is still tremendous challenge. We have had to police a number of key points that include business places, include government buildings and other installations, prisons, hospital, a number of key points. In addition to our traffic duties, our normal patrol duties, and the various other duties that the police have to perform. But I can tell you that the police has been committed to the task. The police have been doing all that is in our might, to ensure that we are able to bring a level of security and safety to our citizens of Dominica. We have been involved in the patrols. You will see that our foot patrols have increased in the city. So you will notice that police officers are here and about, dressed in camouflage, and in some instances, uniform, gray and black. But we are patrolling the city. We have the support of the regional forces, and we are patrolling the city to prevent any possibility of lawlessness. We have increased our night patrols as well. And in that process, we will continue to ensure that the enforcement of the curfew continues to be strictly done. The curfew has been adjusted of yesterday, so we now have the curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., which means that people now have more time on their hands to get a lot more done during the recommended time. Once it is 10 o'clock, the curfew is in effect, and the police will continue to enforce the curfew order. Persons are asked once again to conform to the curfew order. You are supposed to be at your homes at 10 o'clock, indoors at 10 o'clock. So there is no reason why the police should find you outdoor, after 10 o'clock in the evening and before 5 o'clock in the morning. There is the requirement for persons who need to be outside after 10 o'clock, and as have been indicated and stipulated, you must apply to the Chief of Police for a pass, a permit which guarantees you the right to be outside after 10 o'clock at nights. Now, the police does have a right to stop and search where the case may be. So, you being in possession of a pass does not preclude the police from searching your vehicle or searching you if he thinks there is something suspicious that he needs to find out about. You having a pass does not make you avoid the police, because the police has the duty to do despite you having a pass in your possession. So we want to appeal to the public to cooperate with the police, because the police at the points, the traffic points, are in control of the points and the traffic at the time. There have been instances where people who have been given passes or issued passes find it difficult to cooperate with the police and sought on many occasions to insist on having things done the way that they want. If you have a pass to be in the city at a specific time and the police said, no, you cannot because of circumstances, then the police has control over the traffic at all times. His instructions preside. So we want to appeal to the public to understand the role of the police and to cooperate with the police as we perform those duties. Many people have been arrested for curfew violations, and to date we have 102 persons who have been arrested and will be prosecuted for curfew violations. As we have already indicated, the penalty is $5,000 and 6 months imprisonment. This is not what someone would want to face at this time after a hurricane. So please avoid yourself from being subject to that situation. The police have suffered tremendously from the hurricane. I can tell you that. 11 of our 19 stations have been damaged, badly damaged. And there are some of the stations that are uninhabitable. For instance, there's a Cassibus police station. The roof has been totally removed. Officers are now being housed in some other location. And of course, it is not the most convenient for them. There are other stations like Wesley. Police officers had to be removed from that station. There are other stations like Maho, where we had to find housing for other housing locations for the police officers, having to be removed from the stations completely. So there are many stations that have been destroyed. And it is difficult times for the police at work, because the police do have very long hours to do. Sometimes 2 and 3 shifts per day. Police does have to maintain the security of the items being distributed in and around the city, around the island. And police does have to ensure that the traffic is conducted in a proper way in the city, so that we have the smooth movement of traffic in and out of the city. But the police also has suffered personally. They themselves have suffered personally. Many of the homes of police officers have completely been destroyed. They are destroyed completely. And the police has to deal with these issues, personal issues, as well as having to deal with their work issues. Because we have to be out there to support the public, to work with the public, to ensure that the public is safe, and that business can come back, and there can be security at business places and so on. But also the police has to do with their own issues, personal issues. So it is twofold for us as police. But nonetheless, we continue to move on, and we are making strides. You will notice that there is a lot more vehicles in the city now, as the city is being cleared, the city is being lighted up, and so there is a certain number of vehicles that can be allowed to be in the city. Not as normal. And we are saying that because even during normalcy, we have a challenge with traffic in the city. And given the situation with the bridge, the Isiloba Bridge, and the various areas that are still being repaired, we are asking the public to be tolerant, to understand that it is not business as normal, and that the heavy flow of traffic that we have been experiencing in the past cannot be allowed to continue just yet. So somehow people are still expected to park their vehicles and take the bus as much as possible. People are still expected to understand they may be returned from entering the city, denied from entering the city, because of the level of congestion we may have in the city at any one time. So we seek the cooperation of the public in the traffic duties that we are doing. Immediately after hurricane, about 2 days, 3 days after the hurricane, we were able to get back on stream in our immigration duties, so that you could find persons could have gotten to the immigration department and get things going. So we have seen this sort of effort of the immigration department, which had, of course, to become complemented. We have seen the effort of the North Police. All of the North had much less a challenge than us, and that is because there was the people in the North could have been more understanding, one, and that the police had been active, very active in the North to help in curbing the situation. Granted, there is a greater challenge in Roseau as opposed to Portsmouth, but we are happy that business is up and about in Portsmouth, and the police in the North are very much involved in getting things to flow effectively. We want to appeal to the people who have been involved in looting and in the theft of items during immediately after the passage of Hurricane Maria. Some weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, I called on residents to return items that they had taken from the business places, and that they were in possession or illegal possession of those items, for which, of course, they would be prosecuted. The police has embarked on a number of searches and have recovered many items from various communities in and around Roseau. There are instances where 3 and 4 fridges were found at the homes of private citizens. Persons who looted, who stole from the business places. And so we want to continue to appeal to the public and to residents. If you are in possession of items that were illegally obtained, you are to return those items to the police, rather than have the police come to your home, come to your residence to retrieve them. This effort to search and recover those items that have been stolen will continue, because we want to ensure that the police does their work effectively to send a clear message to those people who were involved in that illegal act. And so everyone who has been found in possession of those illegal items will be brought to justice. And we are looking forward to ensure that that is done as soon as possible. Many persons have been informed of the charges. Some have received complaints, the charges, and the complaints will be filed as soon as the court resume. I think we are in the process of getting that done as soon as possible. So persons who have been informed of the charges have been given a date at which they must appear at the magistrate court to answer to the charges. Items that are in excess of $10,000 will be brought before the High Court. Persons will be brought before the High Court to answer to those charges. So it is a situation where the police have been doing our fair share in trying to ensure security and safety of our country and our citizens. And I can tell you things are taking shape. We are seeing some level of compliance with the traffic rules, and we want to continue to ask our citizens to observe the traffic signs, conform to the traffic rules, There is no reason why you should be driving against the normal route of traffic to create a traffic problem or to create some accident that people would have to suffer from. If you drive against the traffic route, the likelihood of you running into another vehicle and causing an accident will pose a tremendous challenge for you and for others who use the route. So let us, as much as possible, try to conform to the traffic rules. There are persons who are driving around without number plates. And we are asking that you desist from that practice. When the storm passed, a number of vehicles got damaged, number plates would have gotten damaged as well, but things are back in order. And so we are asking persons to get their number plates, purchase their number plates, and make sure it is installed, the numbers are installed for identification of those vehicles. Short of that, you are likely to be arrested or charged for not conforming with the traffic rules.
You mentioned about people should bring in the items rather than have the police come to their homes or wherever they have them. Does that mean that if you take in your items, there'll be no charges?
No, it does not mean that. It does not mean that at all.
Just the same?
You will be charged. The matter will be investigated. You will be charged just the same once you are found liable for the illegal possession of those items.
So what would be the incentive then for a person coming in as against hoping the police never comes?
Well, it simply means that you have adhered to the instructions of the police and that you have made the work of the police much easier. But it doesn't mean that you won't be prosecuted. All of the factors will be taken into consideration, but it doesn't mean you will not be prosecuted.
The magistrate will be told, or whoever will be told, that this person came
exactly,
in. Exactly. When you say $5,000 and 6 months for the curfew violations, is that mandatory, or is it up to $5,000?
Up to $5,000 and 6 months.
Up to 5,000. Yes.
So it is fine and confinement.
Okay. But between $1 to $5,000, just to make it clear, because someone might think I'm in for $5,000 anyway. So it can be between $1 to $5,000.
Yes,
according to the circumstances. Now that we've had the looting, which has crippled quite a few businesses, we must look to the future. What steps the police may now think that they could take, which they didn't take this time, to avoid a repetition or repeat of what happened? The looting I'm talking about.
Well, the police could certainly appeal to our citizens of Dominica and residents. In the future, when we are faced with situations like that, appeal for the cooperation of all citizens, because you would well realize that the police had made the necessary efforts to prevent it. And in many instances where the police could not cover at the time, that is where the persons took advantage. And when the police moved to another location, then they went to other locations. And so a lot of these lootings took place where the police was absent. And a lot of it took place at nights, in the dead of night, when the streets were blocked and the streets were dark. So it has to do a lot with our people. Our people must understand that you are destroying your country. You are destroying commerce in your country when you behave like that. And the possibility of you losing your job as a consequence is very likely. So there must be an appeal to our people. Our mindset, our mind frame must be different. We must have a sense of belonging, you understand? A sense of purpose. Because when you look at the destruction that came with the looting, the malicious actions and behavior of our people, it questions our mindset. But the police will, of course, deploy in large numbers, as we have done, and we will seek to ensure that at all times we will work to prevent it. That is what I think we will have to do.
Do you think that, and I put it in Dominica Palace, I'm going to the Beefy part. Some people think that they were surprised at who was doing the looting. Was the police surprised when they found out who had in fact looted? I'm talking about they would never have expected that of that person. Were you surprised?
The police was taken aback by the numbers of persons, one, who had got involved in that behavior. And from our investigations, which of course is still ongoing, there are some eyebrows being raised as to some names of persons who could be involved. But we cannot come to a conclusion on anything until the investigations are complete. And so we await the completion of the investigation, notwithstanding the fact that we are still executing warrants and searches to recover those items.
One last question. With all that you have to do, the police have to do, and they have been at it now nearly into 5 weeks, just about, how are the men holding up in general, the morale?
I can tell you that I am impressed with my officers. I am impressed with my officers. The morale of our officers are still very high. They understand the situation. There are challenges. Some of them certainly have had instances of sickness, which is unavoidable. Some of them are fatigued, but they understand. And we try as much as possible to give them the courage and encourage them to perform. We have brought in the nurses and doctors to assist in checking their vitals, and we are this week, tomorrow, we are having some of our qualified people in area of health to meet with them and to speak with them and to encourage them along. But I can tell you that it is taken a serious toll, because it's over a month, and officers have gotten very little rest. They have gotten some, but very little. And they are called over and over to perform those duties, but they are holding on. At the out districts, when I got to one of these stations, it was tarpaulin. They had placed some tarpaulin, but they were praying that the weather would hold on, because the challenge of bad weather, the wind and all that, would certainly bring some serious problems for them. In Salibia, there are very little opportunities to move from the station. You search around for an accommodation, an alternate accommodation, and everybody is being taken in somewhere, and very, very little opportunity for that. So we have to seek to get our repairs going quickly, and we want to thank the assistance of the regional forces who are here, because we have gone on to do an evaluation assessment of all the stations as to the extent of damage that they sustained. And we have submitted the report, and the materials are being provided now, which of course will be with the assistance of the regional forces in repairing and putting back the roofs and so on at the stations. Our officers have been provided for in terms of the meals and the supplies to sustain them during the rough time that we are going through. And so we are, of course, trying our best under the circumstance, and our officers are equal to the task. They are holding on.